Hey everyone, Luke here. Now, before I get into the video, which today is going to be We Never Learn, What's the Difference? And we're going to be looking at episodes 3 and 4. Now, I know this one's been kind of a little bit delayed, but that's because, like I said in one of the last videos, episodes 3 and 4 were actually really well handled. Yeah, they were actually adapted pretty well. I mean, there are a few little things that will count, but in terms of, like, for example, episodes 1 and episodes 2, like, not a lot of it was cut out. Like, for example, in episode 2, I was kind of disappointed that quite a few chapters were cut out, but in these two episodes, no, they actually did a really good job. And you see, this is what I love about this now, that they're slowly getting into that area where it's like, okay, not a lot is being cut out, so that means we don't have a lot that makes us really frustrated. Like, me as a fan of the series, it didn't make me frustrated. I wasn't like, now I got my computer screen trying to say, like, no, you can't cut this bit out. You can't cut this bit out. So yeah, credit where credit's due. These last two episodes, really well done. These last two episodes were actually much more well adapted than the whole of the Promised Neverland series. Like, all those episodes put together, and I'm really glad that they actually went down this route. But also as well, it's because I've been extraordinarily busy over the past two weeks. I've been able to still get out the reviews, which, by the way, Promised Neverland chapter 133 is coming out, and that's a series where we're actually going to be talking about something else as well in regards to the Promised Neverland. It's nothing major. Like, I'm not going to be saying, like, I'm quitting doing the reviews, but it will be something like it's mildly important that I need to, like, just get off my chest when we get into it. But yeah, anyway, in terms of that chapter, that was actually quite a mindfuck of a chapter that I watched. It sort of like reminded me of Fullmetal Alchemist, the final battle with Father in Fullmetal Alchemist, and I'll tell you why when we get into that video. That's for later. That'll hopefully be coming out tomorrow. I can't guarantee it, but I'll try and get it out tomorrow as much as possible. So fingers crossed for that. But for now, yeah, we'll just get into We Never Learn. And also as well, another reason why I've been busy these past 2 weeks is that I went for an audition, and whilst I don't know if I've got it, I won't be finding out that until Monday. I did have an agent contact me who was very interested in representing me. So yeah, Luke might actually be getting an agent. Yay! So yeah, to do more acting in that. In case you don't know, an agent is someone who basically helps you find roles for you to actually do. Most actors have one, and yeah, so it's my turn to actually shine. But yeah, that's what I've been doing over these past 2 weeks. So, but for now, let's get right into We Never Learn. Alright, so the first note I had down for episode 3, which starts off with Naoyuki giving his report to the principal about the progress of the girls. The principal doesn't mention Takamoto, which according to the manga, which is right here. This is volume 2 by the way. So yeah, I'm kind of happy that they're actually slowing down, and they're actually taking their time with these volumes now. Like, for example, I can guarantee that the next episode might actually end volume 2, and that wouldn't be surprising to me. So yeah, we had three episodes to get through volume 2, and they sort of like adapted sort of like three chapters per volume. So yeah, 3 chapters per episode. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm really happy with that they're kind of like taking their time now. But anyway, going back to it, the principal says, I understand Takamoto's performed splendidly on her English vocabulary test the other day. Keep up the good work. Now there's not a mention of that, and I don't know why that was. Maybe it was sort of like to like put more pressure on Naoyuki. It's sort of like give off that pressure that he is under sight, get these girls actually up to speed, otherwise he's actually going to be replaced as their tutor, which is kind of like a big deal for them as well. And again, what I love about the adaptation of We Never Learn as opposed to Promised Neverland is that they're having a lot of the flashbacks and they're actually having a lot of thoughts from the characters as well, which actually adds more to their characters as well and makes them think and makes us feel like, oh, they're much more than just these stereotypical cardboard cutout characters like what we sort of like got with The Promised Neverland. I really love that about that they're actually making an attempt to actually add in the inner thoughts of the characters to actually give us the flashbacks that this series actually does need to actually explain the turmoil that the characters are actually going through and the sort of like drive to succeed that they're actually going through as well. Now, one thing that was changed slightly was that they added Ogata's request before it was actually revealed. How her request in the manga, it goes, Yuga, I'd like to ask a favour, and then it immediately cuts to Nariyuki in Ogata's home family restaurant, however you pronounce it, and it says, will you help me study at my house tomorrow? And all that is shown before the reveal, like Ogata asking Nariyuki, I have a request, would you help me at my house tomorrow? Would you like come and help me study at my house tomorrow? Now, I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, maybe it was just like to make the scene like sort of like move a lot more smoother. But the fact that it actually just immediately cuts to his to him in the restaurant going, geez, well, actually thinking, geez, didn't see that one coming. I mean, it gets the it gets the same feel across, but again, I feel like it's a little bit more funny if it's actually just like cut out a little bit, and we don't actually find out until we actually see him in that actual restaurant, just looking like really awkward as hell. And but one thing I will say about this is that the way they handled Ogata's father is actually really good. I mean, his voice actor you can tell was having a blast just play that part. Even though it's a little minor character, you could tell he was just having a lot of fun with like the expressions the character gives off. And I'm really glad that they were able to capture like his paranoid nature as a father, as any father. Like, I'm not a father yet. That's nothing. Maybe Luke might have had a little bit of luck with the ladies after all. I just had to bring that up because we're talking about romance here, and maybe Luke will is having a little bit of luck with the romance department himself. But anyway, going back, yeah, I'm not a father yet, but I'd probably be in the same shoes here. Where the father is like, if you ever think about laying hands on my precious adorable princess, I'll grind you up and make you into noodles. And again, I'd probably be in the same position as well. It's like, what do you think you're doing, young man? Like and of course Ogata comes in and just smacks him right by the head. Now, one thing that I'm kind of debating about whether or not they should have cut this out was him going, Risa Poo. I'm sorry, that just makes me laugh, like, because they cut that out of the anime, and I'm like, would this have actually worked if it was actually added into the anime? Of course it would have actually worked. But anyway, that's just a minor complaint. The father is great, and I'm really glad that they actually were able to capture his personality of being like just this really caring but also really paranoid parent at the same time. It was just absolutely hilarious to see him there. Now, in terms of the actual study session itself, where Ogata's questioning, why does Miu cry in the sentence, and Nariyuki goes, oh, because she thought her friend's injury was her fault. Why did Griffey tell her to come here? Why on earth did this character do this? And in this next sentence, and Nariyuki's going, I guess it makes sense with midterms coming, but you seem really motivated, and Ogata's like, oh, is that so? All of this, basically here, they're doing their study session in the manga, not in the manga, in the anime. It's actually reduced to a montage. Now, I don't know whether this was done to actually just speed along the scene, but of course, because it's a difference, I have to actually mention this. But I feel like they actually did that because they probably figured, well, a lot of the audience themselves probably already know what all of this is actually about. But again, it would have been nice if they actually just included that. But I can understand the reasoning why they actually just reduced it into a montage. It was probably to speed up because they have other stuff that they have to actually focus on in this episode. And again, what I love about this episode is that they actually, because it was actually 3 chapters, one after the other, of like, okay, this is Ogata's little bit, this is Furuyashi's little bit, and this is Takamoto's little bit. I'm glad that they actually got those 3 chapters in so that they actually each had an equal amount of screen time in the episode, that they could actually focus on each of the girls' own personal issues at this moment in time. But again, another thing is, Carl, is like, there's one technique that might help you. That line's actually cut out, and I feel like that's a really important line for Ogata's character later on in the episode, as it foreshadows an event that's going to come up pretty soon in the episode itself. But again, they probably did that so that they can actually focus on other bits that are much more important in the episode itself. Now, another thing that's Carl, which I feel like is kind of important, is Naoyuki mentioning to Ogata, here, it's right here, good night, Ogata, when you pass the test, let's play all the board games you want or something, you've earned it. And again, this is kind of important because it shows that they're actually continuously focusing on what the goals of the girls actually are, and now you can keeping his promises of like, okay, I will, if you ever want to play board games, I will be here to play board games with you and actually show you how to be much more successful about them. But again, I feel like this wasn't the point of the episode. It was the point to show that Ogata, even though she has sucked at English throughout most of her life, and other people have said that about her, it's Naoyuki's given her the support of like, okay, if this is what you want to do, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna succeed about it. And this all comes to a head when she actually has to take the test in the episode. But of course, it's also stuff that they've actually not focused on as much as other stuff, and that actually gets them really worried. And another thing that I feel like would have actually benefited from the episode is this part right here, where we get Naoyuki's reaction to the whole situation as well, because all we get is Ogata's reaction, which is only half of the test covers the material we've studied, the rest is from a totally unfamiliar source. And the fact that they actually showed Naoyuki's reaction there shows that he's totally invested of being their tutor. He's taken up the job as well, and if they fail, that fails on him as well, and he becomes increasingly worried as well. And I feel like not having that bit in just kind of takes away a little bit from Naoyuki's character, but not a lot, so that it didn't actually like make me frustrated, because again, this is Ogata's moment. This is a big moment. This is her biggest moment in the series so far, and it's shown by the flashbacks that she's getting from the other tutors that are like, you liberal arts, don't make me laugh, this is pathetic, just stick with your own subject. And what I love about the episode is that they actually show the other tutors as well, not just Kiryu sensei, but also the other tutors that they've had in the past, and how they've just been basically like, it's useless, just give up on it. You can't do this. There's no way you're going to be able to do this. Just stick to science. Stick to what you actually know. But another thing that they actually count is Naoyuki's technique of how she could actually overcome this. But again, now, what his technique was is, in modern literature, the important thing is to understand the author's main ideas. There's one technique that might help you. The reductive reading technique. It involves crossing out parts of the text. When you see phrases like, in other words, or thus, the author is restating the previous statement, right? So you can cross out one or the other. Likewise, the words, however, or nonetheless are usually followed by an important point, so you can cross out whatever comes before. So if you go through like this and cross out all the filler, you're left with the author's main ideas, the heart of the essay. Now, I feel like the reason, again, like I said before, the reason why they cut this out is because that's not the point of the episode. The point of the moment is to show like Rizu, despite the odds being stacked against her, she's never going to give up on her dream of being able to actually focusing on what she wants to accomplish. And I feel like just the moment of her saying, no, I am not going to give up. Now Yuki's not giving up on me, so I'm not going to give up. I'm going to do my best and show him, like, his ideas are actually working and he is the perfect tutor for me. And sure enough, as it saw in the episode, she got a really good score and she was really happy about this, and so was Naoyuki, and it showed like his teaching methods are actually the best, and the other tutors should have not actually given up on the girls just because they're dumb in other subjects. The fact that if you actually teach them, then they can actually overcome everything. Kind of, again, I feel like that was the point of the episode, why they just didn't focus so much on the actual technique itself, and also as well because I feel like they thought like, well, the audience knows this, so they'd probably be thinking like it's probably just going to be pointless because we know it as well, even though we know it's important for those characters to actually know it as well. Now, one thing I want to say is that I didn't notice this. I didn't notice this until the actual episode was played out to me, but it's this part right here with Furuyashi. Which in a minute we'll be getting into Furuyashi's a little bit. Do I have any more notes? Let's see. No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have other notes before this, but yeah. So yeah, this moment right here. Now, when I first read the chapter way back when I was reading it before, I was actually able to buy the volumes. Which, by the way, get the volumes. I got volume 3 today as well. Along with probably stuff like volume 9, which is the fight with Lewis is starting to get like. I'm getting really excited about that. And also Demon Slayer volume 5, which, by the way, in terms of series, Demon Slayer, underrated, extremely underrated. People need to pick up more Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer. I'm really enjoying that series at the moment, and I can't wait to find out where it's actually going to go. It's one of the series where I'm actually just buying the volumes and reading the volumes instead of reading it online, and I'm really enjoying the journey so far. So yeah, that's just a side note, that's just a tangent. But anyway, this moment right here, I actually thought that was Furuyashi's mouth that was open. I didn't actually notice the fact that it was actually a mask that you put on to actually protect yourself from spreading your disease or your cough or whatever to other people. But yeah, the episode actually made me notice something that I didn't notice before. So yeah, props to that, and credit where credit is due on that part. Now, one thing that they actually did call out of the episode, which I feel like could have actually been included, was the bit before they're actually in the infirmary checking on Furuyashi's cold, and it's this part right here where she's actually studying up on her mathematics, and it goes like this. So, for example, you know the symbol I, right? Do you know what it means, Furuyashi? And she's like, no way, I solved it. Yeah, I did it. I never solved a math problem before so smoothly in my life. Yippee. And then that's when she gets the cold. And then she's thinking back on what Kiryu Sensei said to the principal. He should be forced to resign now without waiting for midterms. And she's like, just a bit more, I'll solve one more problem and then I'll sleep just one more. Now again, I feel like this is important because it shows the determination on Furuyashi's part as well as Ogata, like the fact like, no, they want to keep having Naoyuki as their tutor because of all he's done for them and how much he's actually made them improve on their weaknesses and actually sort of like turn them into strengths at this point, and how they're like, no, even if we're going to be sick, we need to do these midterms. We need to get them going, and I don't want anything to come between us. But of course, the natural order of being sick actually comes between it, and it forces her to actually make a choice at this point when she actually does not want to. So I feel like not having this scene here, it kind of like ruins like the determination of Furuyashi's character to show like, no, she is just as determined as Ogata to actually improve and succeed at her weaknesses. Now, in terms of most of this portion of the episode, it was actually adapted really well, and I'm really happy about that. I mean, there are a few little minor differences here and there, but in terms of like the majority of it actually flows pretty much verbatim from the manga. But the next part that I want to talk about is the fantasy that Takamoto has with Narayuki, when he actually comments on like, oh, that apron, it makes you look like a newlywed wife, and she's like, a young wife, and in the anime, it's like just a generic like, oh honey, I'm home, and she's like, oh, welcome home, dear, and she's like, no, what are you thinking about? That's actually what? But in the manga, I feel like it's much more hilarious in the manga, where it's like Narayuki's going, Uraka, thank you for always cooking such delicious meals. And she's like, oh, that's, wait, there's still dessert. And he's like, I've got my dessert right here. I feel like that's much more hilarious and much more appropriate of the reaction that she gives there. Like, what are you talking about? Dessert? No, Yuki, chill out. And he's like, sorry? What dessert? I feel like that's way more hilarious, and I feel like they should have just kept that in. They really should have just kept that in, because that part is just like rolling on the floor laughter, hilarity. So yeah, it's just that one little bit I wanted to talk about that just made me think like they really should have just kept that in. Now, another thing that they actually carved the episode is after Furuyashi becomes feeling a little bit better, she's actually saying to Narayuki, remember what you told me a little while ago. In the anime, it's just her talking about it, whereas in the manga, we actually get a flashback of her going, equations are so scary, and Narayuki going, you know, your phobia of maths really isn't helping. And she's like, yeah, but when I see a full page of mathematical symbols, it's so cold and dry and unapproachable. And Narayuki's thinking, and he's like, instead of just memorizing symbols and formulas, Furuyashi, I think it might help you to think of them as words. And she's like, what words? And he's like, so for example, you know the symbol I, right? Do you know what it means, Furuyashi? And she's like, dog, just looking at a mathematical symbol like that sends me into a total panic. And he's like, this is actually the Greek letter S. This is just it's just a letter of the alphabet. S stands for submission. Basically, that word right there that I'm having trouble pronouncing. In other words, E is just a fancy word of saying this is the sum of all the parts. That's just for one example. Humans inventing math formulas just like we invented language. There's logic behind them, and Heart 2 doesn't thinking about it that way make it a bit more approachable. And then and then Furuyashi goes, that does help me feel less fearful before it continues on with what she was actually saying in the actual episode itself. But again, I feel like another reason why this was actually cut out was because they cut out the moment before the infirmary at the beginning of the chapter. It's sort of like in the middle of the episode, in the middle of this section. But again, it would have been nice to actually have that in, just to show how much they're improving and how much his techniques are actually working, because he's taking what they know and kind of like making a transferable skill to what they don't know in a sense. But again, that's just that's not really a major plot point that needs to actually be cut out, not like cutting out entire chapters. And I can kind of see why they actually cut it out, because I feel like it would have ruined the flow and the mood of the actual scene that they were actually trying to set up. Unlike with the Promised Neverland, by cutting out major plot points that they actually need to be in order to understand the characters' motivations a little more clearly. This actually doesn't do that all too much for me, and I'm really glad that, again, like I said, that the episodes are actually sort of like keeping a similar structure, and actually hopefully fingers crossed that they actually keep this structure coming up, and I'm not too frustrated with the rest of the series. Now, one thing is clear of the episode which I feel like is like, really? This might be the thing that like really irks me the most about the episode. It's the bit right here before Takamoto's bit, where the principal and Kiryu Sensei is talking about the girls and how they've surpassed the targets that were set for them, and the principal's like, well done, Yuga. Don't you agree, Kiryu Sensei? And she's like, I don't understand turning geniuses into ordinary students. It makes no sense. I can't support this. Again, this adds to like the stern coldness of her character, how she just can't see past. She can't just see past certain aspects and see like, maybe they are capable of learning stuff outside of the specialist subjects, and maybe geniuses aren't so different from regular people after all, and how she just can't see past that, and it's an insecurity for her, which actually plays a plot point way further down the line, like literally just recently in the manga, but I'm not really sure why they actually cut that out, because again it's just adding more to the personality of the character and getting us to know much more about her before she's actually properly introduced into the main cast of characters. Now moving on to Takamoto's part. Now this is the part that I will be talking about the least, because in terms of the parts, this chapter was the most in terms of like being adapted verbatim. There were a couple of minor little bits that were just like, really? Why didn't they include that? Now the first bit is actually having Naoyuki in the shop itself. Now I feel like that's much more hilarious to just have him appear there and just giving this half-arsed excuse of like, well, I make the clothes in my family, you know. Sometimes I browse shops to get design ideas. I feel like just having him outside, just walking along, minding his own business, and just coincidentally bumping into Takamoto is not as funny as him just being like, oh, did somebody say my name? What are you doing here? I made the clothes of my family. So yeah, I feel like just cutting out that part was not as funny as what was presented in the episode. But I will say one thing about it that didn't actually make me that I was actually confused about when I actually first read the chapter. Like in the episode itself, Takamoto's friends, when they're in the shop as well, they actually take the clothes from Takamoto, like her school uniform, so she only has the dress right here to wear, and nothing else. And I feel like that was a smart move to actually include that, because when I read that in the manga, it's like, well, if she doesn't like wearing this dress, why doesn't she change back into her school uniform? Now we actually got a reason. The school friends actually took the uniform from her, so it's like, no, you are not getting back into your uniform. You are wearing that dress. You are going to confess to Naoyuki whether you like it or not. So yeah, I feel like that was a really good moment, and you see, that's an example of adding anime material adding in, because it expands on concepts in the manga that were actually left out, that actually cover up for mistakes in the manga itself, and I'm really happy that they actually did that. That's actually adding in anime material that I'm actually okay with. Now, one thing I really do like about the episode itself is that it gets down Takamoto's insecurities, because she's always been seen as a tomboy by everyone else. She has always felt like she's not worthy to be a princess, and by having Naoyuki there and actually being thrust into these like romantic situations, it gets the insecurities of her character down, and she doesn't know how to respond to these feelings that she's actually had inside of her for him all this time, because again, she's always been seen as a tomboy. She's always been seen as like one of the lads instead of actually being seen as a girl, and the fact that she's actually being thrust into this situation where she has to be where she has to bring out her feminine side, it's actually really hard for her, and she doesn't know how to actually go about it, and it actually gets down the insecurities about like, does he like me as a girl, and not as like hey buddy, old pal, old chum, that sort of thing. So I really love how they got that down. And yeah, aside from that, and aside from a little moment, if I can get to it, let's see, right here, this part right here, this part right here, where the friends are like, where it's like the next day, what, he carried you like a princess? That's in the top 3 of a girl's wish list. Now, how did that happen? Let's celebrate with ice cream tonight. And Takamoto's like, keep your voices down, keep your voices down. I feel like that could have been like a really good cap up for the episode itself. So, but again, it's a minor thing, and it's not really affecting the episode itself. So yeah, that was episode 3, and like I said, it was a really good adapted episode, and I feel like it's only going to get better because as you'll see right here, I have my notes here. We're up to episode 4, and as you can see, only on the next page. That's literally all the notes I have on episode 4. So yeah, this will probably be a lot more quicker because this episode was actually episode 4 was actually my favourite of the episodes so far because it didn't have as much cut out and it had things changed, but they were changed for the better in the episode, which probably helped because it actually had the sound effects and it could have done a lot, and it did a lot of the comedic angles that could only happen with sound effects. So yeah, let's just get right into episode 4, shall we? Now, one thing I was actually surprised about the episode was we got the episode where Furuyashi is actually insecure about her weight, and I just thought they would have actually cut this out. I was actually really pleasantly surprised that they actually kept that in because there was a lot of comedic materials that they actually had gift wrap for them in this episode. And one example is, if we go to it, is right here, where they're actually having the snacks, and Furuyashi's like, oh, I get it, why I'm putting her weight. In the episode, she's actually having the snacks, and you get like this pig sound actually happening, and she's like, I can't do the sound of a pig, but basically it's like, and she's like that. I get it now. It's like, that pig sound, that actually made me laugh out loud. Like, just having that pig sound after she's like, just in this content of like, happiness. Like, I've got all these snacks and everything. I'm really happy. Oh, I get it now. It's like, okay, that was really funny, and I'm really glad that they actually kept that in. So, like you said, you can see me now. I'm actually getting happy talking about the anime and how, even though it's different from the manga in certain aspects, it's actually not made me actually frustratingly angry. It's made me really happy about, and again, props to the episodes for actually doing decent adaptations of the actual manga at this point. I'm really happy about that. Now, another thing that's cool is the punchline to the actual temptation joke, where you have it right here where Furuyashi's actually saying to herself, I'm not going to eat anything, and it's actually because she's actually thinking of the food. It's actually affecting how she actually does her maths problems, and it goes, why are the temptations getting more and more intense each day, every day? And Takamo's like, Fumiya-chun, you're not having any today either. Now again, I don't know if they just did that because they felt like this part right here where she's actually just exhausted from it all actually worked a lot better for them in the episode. To just actually cut away to her just actually absolutely exhausted. But again, I would have liked to have actually just had that little bit at the end of it, just to like wrap up that punchline. But that's just me being a little bit nitpicky there. Now, one major change in the episode itself is the reaction that Narayuki has to Furuyashi and her stomach, and her asking, have I put on weight? In the episode, it's like he goes, this is dangerous, and I don't feel like that is as funny as this part right here, where he's actually feeling her stomach to see for her if she's actually put away. He goes, I mean, what should I say? I can't say it's smooth and soft and feels amazing. This is so inappropriate. And he goes, this is bad. I feel that is way more funny than this is dangerous because of the fact that and it also makes a lot more sense because of him saying this is bad. That in Furuyashi's mind implies like, oh my god, I have actually put on weight. I've put on more weight than I could have actually imagined. This is bad. I really need to lose this weight. And again, it makes it much more apparent here that it makes much more sense there where she goes, it's bad. My stomach, it's bad. Ha 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 ha. And she just actually becomes like a wandering spirit away from her mouth. Like, I don't know what to do here. But another thing that they actually cut out is quite a lot of the conversation between Narayuki and Furuyashi. Now I get why they actually cut this down to the bare basics to get out the much more important stuff, because at this point the episode had already taken up like about halfway, like a lot. This one chapter took up a lot of the episode, but again, this is what they were saying. Naruyuki goes on to say, please listen, Furuyashi, you've got it all wrong, I swear, it just slipped out. And she's like, it's okay, Yuga, it's bad, you were just being honest, I knew it, I'm a fat loser. And then Naruyuki's like, oh crap, she's saying the wrong thing, how do I fix that? And then he says, you really have nothing to worry about, Furuyashi. You're super cute, just the way you are. And she's like, you're being creepy there. And he's like, and she's like, you're totally creeping me out, Yuga. Why are you crazy? And he's like, no, that's not what I meant. And he's like, never mind, nothing. And he's like, this is no good. As her tutor, I can't let her strive herself. And it's like Furuyashi, and then it goes on to her getting the snacks, her midnight snacks, her midnight plan, which is basically it burns blood sugar to focus on studying at midnight, so I can eat as much as I want without gaining weight. And then he's like, that's not true. This is why you're gaining weight so much. It's so much for my internal battle just now. And she's like, it's not true. What internal battle? Because his internal battle was like trying to get her to calm down and trying to get the words out, but he just couldn't get out because it was always being misinterpreted. But again, I feel like the reason that they actually just cut a lot of this out was because the episode at this point was halfway, and I feel like they actually just need to get on to the other chapters that were actually going to be adapted, which actually introduces this character right here. This episode actually introduces this character, which is Seikujo Samako, which she's basically a massive Ogata fangirl. That's basically what I'm going to say. That's her. She's an Ogata fangirl, and I think she might be a lesbian. I think she might actually have the hearts for Ogata. I believe I mentioned this character when I did the introduction, but yeah, this is the first time she was actually introduced, and I'm really glad that they got her personality down. But again, there is some stuff that I actually want to talk about in regards to this portion of the episode. Now, the one point I want to talk about in this portion of the episode is right here, where Naruyuki actually says, that's 48 points, you got almost half right, and they're actually talking about Ogata's what was actually grading, which is questions about our character's internal motivations, which was a stumbling block. But now you're getting there. You're doing way better since the midterms. And again, I feel like this could have actually been added in because it shows just how far Ogata has actually come in her studies, particularly in English literature. How before she was like completely getting zero results, couldn't actually figure out what the characters were actually thinking or how to actually decipher what the characters' motivations are. But now that we're actually seeing the improvement, that shows a real growth for her character and how she's developed ever since the beginning of the series, even though it's only been a few chapters, shown how much rapidly she's been improving. And I feel like just cutting that out, it just takes a little bit away from the character development that she has been developing herself. Now, one major thing that was actually cut out was how do you pronounce her name again? Let's see. Seikujo. I have to keep going back to actually pronounce her name. Seikujo's prediction, which comes in the form of when after she actually leaves the two of them, and she's like, and Naruyuki's speaking to Ogata saying, "You're almost there. You can do it." And she's like, "Yes." And then she thinks back to to what Naruyuki said, and it's like, how many times do I have to say it? That's all there is between us. We are not lovers, we are just tutor and student. And she's like, well, if she did realise her feelings, things might get really complicated. Now, this is major foreshadowing for what's actually going to come up in the new arc that they're actually about to go into, which is the Camp Forest arc, and the development that goes between the relationship between Naruyuki and Ogata. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a prediction here that Psycho Joe makes that actually comes into play immediately following after this episode. It's going to come in the next episode, and I'm really surprised that they actually didn't keep that in, because that is major foreshadowing for events that are going to play out very soon in the actual series. Now, moving on to the final part of episode 4. Like I said, episode 4 was a pretty decent adaptation, so there wasn't really much to complain about in the episode, and hopefully if this carries on, I might actually just be able to do one video every 2 weeks rather than one video every week, because again, I feel like if they keep going at the pace they are, there won't be much for me to actually complain about or talk about. So again, depending on the situation, there might be one video each week, or there might be one video every 2 weeks, but we'll just have to wait and see. But carrying on, the point that I want to talk about here is this part right here, where Naoyuki's playing baseball and how he's actually sucking at it, and they're like, and he's like, so close, can I get a do-over? And the other shooter's like, yeah, right, what are you, stupid? How was that close? And one of Takamoto's friends is like, man, Naoyuki's hopeless. Again, showing like a different side to Naoyuki's character. Like, even though he's seen as like a genius to Ogata, Furuyashi and Takamoto, he still uses some other things, sports being one of them, because again, he's a nerd, so he probably doesn't have time for sports. But again, it would be nice to actually show this part, to show that even though he can do a lot of things, there are some things that even he can't do that the other girls could do much better than him. But again, I feel like the reason that they cut this out was because I think we probably got that as well. Now, the one last thing that I want to talk about here is the point right here between Furuyashi and Naoyuki, talking about where Furuyashi goes, Yuga, you're a good friend, but you're going down. After all, we've got super athletic Uraraka on our team. And he's like, yeah, bring it on, show me what you got. Again, I feel like they could have had this part in, because it showed like, even though they're really good friends, they can still be as competitive as they can be, and want to surpass each other. And I feel like that would have been just like a really nice, just sprinkling on the actual episode itself, to like just give that little bit more flavour to the characters, and show that they are still they are still fully rounded characters, and even though they're good friends, at this point they're going to be rivals, and they're going to actually try to beat each other. And it would be nice to actually just have that in, to show the development between them and how far they've come in their relationship. But anyway, that was just a minor thing that I want to talk about. And like I said, that's basically it for episode 4. I mean, there was another little bit where I wanted to talk about, but I feel like it just didn't need to be talked about, which was this part right here, where Takamoto gets fired up in the second half of the basketball game, and Furuyashi's like, what, really? Alright. And Ogata's like, where did this come from? But again, they were just too minor for me to include, and I didn't feel like they actually did need to be included at all. But anyway, that's the end of the 2 episodes. Like I said, really good adaptations of episodes 3 and 4, and I'm really proud that they actually did that. So the animes can adapt it when they want to be. It's just, again, cutting out certain chapters, like, just to like actually move the episode along quick, move the series along quicker. That's just kind of like, really, and cutting out certain parts that actually influence the characters and how they're different from other series, like the bit with Naoyuki's friends, like Kobayashi and the other guy, that when they were like, I thought you said you went into romance. I'm not. And then he constantly gets put into these romantic situations. I feel like those parts really annoy me. But again, like I said, these like 6 chapters that were adapted, I feel like they were adapted really well, and they got on across a lot of the points of the chapters that really needed to be found. There were just some minor nitpicks that I feel like needed to be addressed, but again, not so much that I wasn't getting angry at these episodes. So yeah, good job of these episodes. Not quite perfect, but getting up there, getting better, which is probably what I'll title the video, like, getting better. Yeah, that'll be it. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to say. What did you think of these episodes? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Promise Neverland, chapter 133 or 134. 133 will be coming this week, hopefully tomorrow. But for now, this will be Lash and Luke signing off. Later, guys!